Toronto FC is a Canadian professional soccer club based in Toronto, Ontario which competes in Major League Soccer. Toronto became MLS's 14th team in the league, and first Canadian team, upon the league's expansion in 2007. The team plays home matches at the soccer-specific BMO Field, located in Exhibition Place along the Toronto Lake Shore. The team is coached by Ryan Nelsen and operated by Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which also operates the NHL's Toronto Maple Leafs, the AHL's Toronto Marlies, and the NBA's Toronto Raptors. The club's most significant achievements to date are winning 4 consecutive Canadian championships from 2009 to 2012, and reaching the semifinals of 2011 Euro 12 CONCACAF Champions League. History, expansion. Toronto was awarded an expansion team in 2005, with team owner Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Limited paying $10 million for the team. The name of the club was officially announced on May 11, 2006. The FC in the team's name is the conventional initialism for football club. The announcement followed an online consultation in which the public was invited to vote on the name during a limited period. The voting options were Toronto Northmen, Inter Toronto FC, Toronto Reds, and Toronto FC. MLSE's strategy in choosing Toronto FC following this process was based on 2 reasons. Firstly, over 40% of the online vote supported the simplified Toronto FC name during the consultation. Secondly, MLSE hoped that the fairly generic name would help the new club earn a more organic nickname from the Toronto fans rather than having one imposed upon the club. The team has been called TFC, and the Reds by the media and the club. Mo Johnston era. Despite a long scoreless streak to start the team's history, Toronto FC quickly began to establish itself as a club with significant fan support. The club's first win on May 12 at BMO Field saw Danny Dichio score in the 24th minute, which prompted the sellout crowd to toss promotional plastic seat cushions onto the field in celebration. Though TFC would slip to the bottom of the MLS standings with a record of 6-17 7, the club built a foundation as the first Canadian team in MLS. In the club's second season in 2008, Toronto hosted the 2008 MLS All-Star Game. The team finished last in the Eastern Conference with a record of 9-13 8, but Toronto FC continued to enjoy an enthusiastic fan base with BMO Field regularly at capacity. To determine the Canadian Soccer Association's representative in the CONCACAF Champions League, Toronto FC played in the inaugural Canadian Championship in 2008, competing for the Voyageurs Cup. TFC were the favourites to win the championship in its first year, but the Montreal Impact prevailed. The last-placed New York Red Bulls handed Toronto a 5-0 defeat in the final 2009 regular season game, leaving TFC 1 point out of the playoffs. Despite bringing in some high-profile talent, the Reds couldn't unregistered trademark T seem to field a consistent side. Dwayne De Rosario continued to put up gaudy numbers, adding 11 goals in 2009. Armando Guevara was a strong playmaker and established MLS veteran, but the Honduran's future at the Canadian club seemed murky with looming 2010 World Cup duties. Rookie goalkeeper Stefan Frei quickly replaced Greg Sutton as a regular starter and immediately became a fan favorite. TFC only scored 2 goals in the final 15 minutes of games all season. During the same 15-minute period they gave up 16 goals, thus creating a 14-goal differential during the final 15 minutes. In the 2009 Canadian Championship, TFC required a 4-goal victory over Montreal in the final game of the competition to nullify Vancouver's plus 4-goal differential. Anything less would result in Vancouver winning the championship. TFC went down 1-0 early, but overwhelmed an understrength Montreal Impact 6-1 on the back of a hat-trick by Dwayne De Rosario. Armando Guevara added 2, scoring in the 69th and 92nd minute. Chad Barrett scored the decisive goal in the 82nd minute, which gave Toronto the lead over Vancouver. The unlikely victory was dubbed by fans and media as the Miracle in Montreal. Toronto FC subsequently participated in the 2009 Euro 10 CONCACAF Champions League, but lost 1-0 on aggregate to the Puerto Rico Islanders in the preliminary round of the tournament. After failing to qualify on the final day of the 2009 campaign, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment said anything short of a playoff spot in 2010 would be unacceptable. With that directive, former director of soccer Mo Johnston hired Preki and made wholesale changes to the roster to reflect the U.S. Hall of Famers' plan to play a tough, defensive style. Despite scoring troubles, TFC played well at the start, going undefeated in 7 games at one time. On July 5, 2010, it was announced that title sponsor Bank of Montreal had renewed their sponsorship of the team's jersey through the 2016 season. The team struggled following the World Cup break. Sensing problems in the locker room, and to try to salvage the season, MLSE dismissed both Johnston and Preki on September 14 and named Al Cochran interim director of soccer and Nick Dasovic interim coach. The players responded to Dasovic's more open, flexible style, but it wasn't enough as the club was eliminated from playoff contention with 3 games left in the season. Off-field issues with season seat holders over the 2011 season ticket package added to the fans' frustrations, forcing MLSE to hold a series of town hall meetings. Toronto FC played CD Motagua in the preliminary round of the 2010 Euro 11 CONCACAF Champions League. Toronto won 1-0 in the first leg on a goal by Chad Barrett, and tied 2-2 in the second leg on goals by De Rosario and Barrett, qualifying for the group stage. Toronto won their first ever group stage match 2-1 against Cruz Azul on August 17, 2010. However, the team failed to qualify for the championship round after finishing in 3rd place behind group winners Real Salt Lake and 2nd place Cruz Azul. Winter de Klerk Mariner era. On November 3, 2010, MLSE formally announced the hiring of former German international and coach Jawan Quartera Gen Klinsmann, and his California-based company, Soccer Solutions, to fix the club's game. Over the next 6 months, Klinsmann assessed the club, identifying a playing style and recommended a candidate for the director of soccer position. On January 6, 2011, the new management team for Toronto FC was announced. Aaron Winter was hired as head coach with his compatriot, Bob de Klerk named first assistant coach. Paul Mariner was named as director of soccer. Winter was selected to bring the Ajax culture, possession and 4-3-3 system to Toronto FC. Management made wholesale changes to the roster before and during the 2011 season, trading numerous players and eventually their captain and Toronto native Dwayne De Rosario. Toronto FC used its remaining 2 designated player slots on 2 notable European players, signing Torsten Frings and Danny Koevermans to 2.5-year contracts. The team went on to set a record for most players used in an MLS season with 39. Despite a strong finish to the season with only 2 losses in their last 12 games, TFC missed the MLS playoffs for a 5th straight year but advanced to the 2011 Euro 12 CONCACAF Champions League semifinals, the first Canadian team to do so. On June 7, 2012, Aaron Winter resigned from the club after refusing to be reassigned from his head coaching role. He was replaced by Paul Mariner. The club had started the season with a 9-game losing streak, setting an MLS record for worst start to a season. Under Winter in 2012, the club's league record was 1-9-0 and in all other competitions was 3-1-4 including a 4th straight Canadian championship. Toronto continued to struggle under Mariner, who finished with a 4-12-8 record in league play. Toronto also failed to advance in the CONCACAF Champions League, finishing second in its group with a 2-2-0 record. Overall, they finished the MLS season on a 14-game winless streak and ended up in last place, with just 5 wins and 23 points. Kevin Payne, Nelson Bachenko eras. It was announced Kevin Payne would be leaving DC United for Toronto FC on November 27, 2012. First-time coach Ryan Nelsen replaced Mariner as of January 7, 2013. On April 25, 2013, Kevin Payne signed the first-ever young designated player in MLS, Marta Aslaba. On July 9, 2013, Payne controversially traded Luis Silva to DC United for an undisclosed amount of allocation money. The club fired Payne on September 4, 2013. Following the removal of Kevin Payne from his role as general manager by recently appointed MLSE president Tim Lewek, Lewek reasoned that there were philosophical differences between the two, as to how Toronto FC should move forward into 2014 and beyond. Lewek, who brought David Beckham to the Los Angeles Galaxy in early 2007, quickly revealed that he intended to make Toronto FC more competitive with similarly ambitious, blockbuster signings. On September 20, 2013, Toronto FC announced that the vacant general manager position had been filled by Tim Bezbatchenko. Under Bezbatchenko, Toronto has made several high-profile moves during the 2013 Euro 14 off-season. Among the transfers were U.S. national team player Justin Morrow, Brasileiro star Gilberto, the return of Toronto FC leading goal scorer Dwayne De Rosario, and Michael Bradley of AS Roma and U.S. national team. On January 10, 2014, Tottenham Hotspur announced they had agreed a deal with the club over the transfer of England international Jermaine Defoe for a reported fee of £6 million, as well as an advertising rights agreement with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Limited. This would see Jermaine Defoe earn a reported £90,000 a week, making him the highest earner in MLS. On February 7, 2014, Brazil national team keeper January Leo Car copyright Zard joined on loan from Queen's Park Rangers. Stadium: BMO Field, Toronto, Ontario, Rogers Centre, Toronto, Ontario, marquee game venue. Before the 2007 Major League Soccer season, construction was completed on a new stadium at Exhibition Place in Toronto at a cost of $62.5 million. On September 20, 2006, MLS's official website announced that BMO Financial Group had officially purchased the naming rights for the new stadium. It is the largest soccer-specific stadium in Canada. It is owned by the City of Toronto, while MLSE, the team's owner, operates it. As the National Soccer Stadium, it served as a major venue for the 2007 FIFA U20 World Cup, including hosting the opening and final matches. In 2008, it played host to the 2008 MLS All-Star Game. BMO Field has also hosted various high-profile teams in international friendlies such as Real Madrid in 2009. It was chosen as a neutral venue to host the 2010 MLS Cup in November 2010. Expansion to the north end that cost $2 million and added 1,249 seats was completed for the start of the 2010 MLS season. Following criticism of BMO Field's use of field turf and its rapid deterioration, MLSE agreed to a deal with the city to replace it with a natural grass surface in time for the 2010 MLS season. Along with the grass, a heating and drainage system was also installed at a cost of $3.5 million to MLSE. Although not expected in the near future, Tom Anselmi, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, has indicated a second level could be added to the east side stands and extra rows added to the south side stands, which would add an additional 8,000 seats for approximately $15 million. In 2012, TFC played its first ever match in the Rogers Centre, hosting the Los Angeles Galaxy in the home leg of the 2011 Euro 12 CONCACAF Champions League championship round. The retractable roof stadium was also the venue for a July friendly against Liverpool of the English Premier League. Colours and badge: the official team colours are red with white trim, and black jerseys with matching black shorts and socks along with red and onyx silver trim. In the first 3 seasons, Toronto FC's away kit colours were light and dark grey. Club culture: supporters. Toronto FC's initial season saw TFC fans set the standard for MLS fan support, selling out its first 3 seasons. Referred to as the model franchise off the field by MLS Commissioner Don Garber, the club was credited for starting MLS 2.0 for their embrace of supporters culture. Lack of on-field success caused frustration among the fan base, spurring fan protests against ownership. In response, MLSE acknowledged the lack of quality on the on-field product, lowering ticket prices in 2013 to 2007 levels. Following a resurgence of interest in the club due to the major signings of Jermaine Defoe and Michael Bradley, the club capped season tickets at $17,000 for the 2014 season. Toronto FC's prominent supporters groups are U-Sector and Red Patch Boys. Rivalries. Columbus Crew and Toronto FC have competed for the Trillium Cup since 2008. Although a manufactured rivalry, their meetings have since sparked bitterness. On March 28, 2009, approximately 1,700 Toronto FC supporters travelled to Columbus Crew Stadium and witnessed a 1-1 draw, during which they lit a number of flares and allegedly committed vandalism. Following the game, some altercations broke out between the two supporter groups. Overwhelmed security called police who ended the melees and made arrests, at which time a TFC fan was tasered while being subdued. The first rematch back in Columbus Crew Stadium following the incident was boycotted by Toronto FC supporters in wake of restrictions imposed on them by Crew officials. Toronto FC's biggest rival, Montreal Impact, joined MLS in 2012. In the years leading up to this, they emerged as fierce rivals during the Canadian Championship. The proximity of the two cities and the fact that Toronto and Montreal are long-standing rivals in NHL ice hockey contributes to these meetings being combative. Toronto FC also have a rivalry with Vancouver Whitecaps FC. On March 16, 2013, Toronto FC fans set an MLS record for traveling support with 3,200 away fans in Montreal to watch TFC lose to a 1, eclipsing their own record of 2,400 at Columbus Crew in 2008. Ownership. Toronto FC are operated by Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Limited, who also own and operate the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Raptors and the Toronto Marlies, along with sports ventures like Leafs TV, NBA TV Canada and GOL TV Canada. The company is also involved in real estate and property management, owning such sports venues such as the Air Canada Centre and being a partner in the development of Maple Leaf Square. Tim Lewek, President and CEO of MLSE, has overall responsibility for the team. Youth Academy. TFC Academy is the youth academy and development system of Toronto FC that was established in 2008. The academy consists of a senior, junior, U16, U14 and U12 team. The academy currently plays in League One Ontario. In June 2012, TFC Academy moved to their new Kia training ground in Downsview Park, located in North York. Built at a cost of $21 million to MLSE, the facility has 7 pitches, 3 full-sized grass pitches and 4 artificial turfs with 2 capable of being bubbled for year-round use. The 36,000-square-foot facility also contains first-team facilities, gym, kitchen, and offices. USL Pro affiliation. On January 22, 2014, Toronto FC announced a 1-year partnership with the USL Pro Wilmington Hammerheads. As part of the agreement, Toronto FC will loan a minimum of 4 players to the Hammerheads during their season. The partnership will also forge a business relationship between the two clubs and saw them play a friendly at Legion Stadium. Broadcasting. Toronto FC games are exclusively broadcast by either the TSN or Sportsnet families of channels. Games that are not covered under national broadcast contracts with MLS or other competition organizers are divided evenly between the two broadcasters, pursuant to agreements between their parent companies in connection to their joint 2011 purchase of MLSE. TSN holds the national broadcast contract with MLS from 2011 to 2016, including rights 30 games per season involving Canadian teams, of which 12 feature Toronto FC. It also holds 11 of the team's 22 regional MLS broadcasts. In both cases, games may air either on TSN's main channel or TSN2, and are usually called by Luke Wileman and Jason DeVos. Sportsnet has broadcast rights to Toronto FC's remaining 11 MLS games. It also owns the rights to both the Canadian Championship, in which TFC participates annually, and the CONCACAF Champions League, in which TFC may compete depending on the results of that year's Canadian Championship. Such games may air either on Sportsnet's regional channels, Sportsnet 360, or Sportsnet 1. Games on Sportsnet involving TFC are generally called by Jerry Dobson and Craig Forrest. GOL-TV Canada, acquired by MLSE in 2009, carried several Live Toronto FC games each season from 2009 to 2012, normally commentated by Wildman. The channel continues to carry repeats of TFC games and other ancillary coverage of the team. Other previous broadcasters for the 2007 to 2010 seasons included The Score and CBC Sports. Similar to the TV rights, radio broadcasts are divided between Sportsnet 590 and TSN Radio 1050. Dan Dunleavy calls the games, while Bob Barassi joins him as color commentator for home games. Players and staff, current roster, where a player has not declared an international allegiance, nation is determined by place of birth. Squad correct as of June 6, 2014. Out on loan, where a player has not declared an international allegiance, nation is determined by place of birth. Squad correct as of June 26, 2014. Notable former players. This list of former players includes those who received international caps while playing for the team, made significant contributions to the team in terms of appearances or goals while playing for the team, or who made significant contributions to the sport either before they played for the team, or after they left. Number listed on Toronto FC's Wall of Honor, current staff, as of December 11, 2013, Tim Betspachenko, General Manager Greg Vanney, Assistant General Manager and Academy Director, Ryan Nelsen, Head Coach, Fran O'Leary, Assistant Coach, Jim Brennan, Assistant Coach, Jason Bent, Assistant Coach, Duncan Orton, Assistant Coach, Stuart Kerr, Goalkeeping Coach, Adrian Lamb, Strength and Conditioning Coach, Head Coaches, as of May 24, 2014, 1. Includes League, Playoff, Canadian Championship and CONCACAF Champions League games. Honours, Canadian Championship, winners, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. CONCACAF Champions League, semi-finalist, 2011 Euro 12. Minor trophies, Trillium Cup, 2011, 2014. Record, year by year. Team records. Most goals. League, CONCACAF Champions League and Canadian Championship, bold indicates player still active with club. Last update, July 13, 2014. Most appearances, League, CONCACAF Champions League and Canadian Championship, bold indicated player still active with club. Last update, July 13, 2014. Club captains, international results, average attendance. The largest attendance for a Toronto FC game at the team's home stadium, BMO Field, was on April 13, 2011, when they hosted the Los Angeles Galaxy in front of 22,453. The highest overall attendance for a home game was on March 7, 2012, when they hosted the Los Angeles Galaxy in the 2011 Euro 12 CONCACAF Champions League quarter-finals at the Rogers Centre in front of 47,658. See also: Canadian Championship, Canadian Men's National Team, Canadian Soccer Association, Canadian Soccer League, Toronto Lynx, Toronto Blizzard, References. External links, official website.